In this video, we'll be showing you how to fabricate a trailer hitch for your MCI bus. This is specifically for a D-series bus, but the same principle works on any other MCI bus. On the 9-inch piece, we need to make a hole 2.5 inches in from the end and centered on the unit. And it's a 5/8 hole. I've drilled a 1/4 inch pilot hole. Now we'll be doing the 5/8 hole. When welding metal, it's extremely important to have a nice clean surface to deal with. So here I'm using a 40 grit flap disc to clean the metal surfaces where the weld is going to be, and also beveling the edges to get better penetration on the weld. Are you liking this video? Well, if so, show us by hitting that little thumbs up. And if you're liking our channel, well, you can always subscribe and even hit the notification bell so you'll get notifications when we release more videos like this. Thank you. And while I have your attention, remember, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a welder, I'm just a bus enthusiast that likes to make things myself. So take this video for what it's worth. It's educational, it's a lot of fun, and show you how to do it yourself. But remember, I'm not a pro. Today we're making hitches for D-model buses, MCI buses. What we have to do is make it so it's solid, make it so it's sturdy, and it fits the bus. To fit the bus, there's a couple different ways of doing it. We made a template out of plywood, very easy to do, that matches the holes of the bus. These plates go between the bumper and the chassis of the bus, meaning that these holes all line up with the holes that actually normally mount the bumper. It's a very solid place to mount it. It's the same way MCI made the optional hitches. This is 1/2 inch steel plate. And this is 2.5 inch tubing that's specifically designed for hitches. And normally tubing inside will have a seam. This is seamless on the inside. Being seamless on the inside, the tube will fit in nicely. Before welding anything, we need to grind the surface to make it clean so the weld will actually stick. I'm using a hitch that I made before to make the next hitch. That way it's a lot easier. So if you're making them for friends like we are, it's a lot easier this way. And first thing we need to do is line everything up, make sure everything is straight and square, and then tack weld this together. I'm not a welder by profession, so I'm just tack welding it, and we're bringing it to a welding shop for them to complete to make sure the welds are nice and solid. So unless you're 100% sure of your welds, take it to a professional. I'm not a professional. One of the questions that we got asked when we showed this previously online was why we didn't do a T configuration like this. And it's simple. We want to be able to make this hitch easy to get in and out, and sometimes you need to get to the back side of it because you need to hammer it out. And it also lets moisture come through all the way and not accumulate in the back of the hitch area. So it's just a little precaution like that. And most of the hitches that are sold on the market are passed through like this, so must be a good way of doing it. So we're using the existing hitch. If you don't have an existing hitch because you're just building one for yourself, use a straight edge to put all this together, and then clamps before starting to weld it, because metal moves when you weld it. And once we get it all clamped up, we'll hit it with the welder. The holes in these plates, even though you'd think they would be the same, are unfortunately not the same. So these 3 holes and the big center hole are the same. The 2 outer holes are different. These ones are spaced in a little closer. So we have to be very careful of that when we're putting the hitch together. And that's why we've made this board to be able to line up all the holes the right way. And once we get it all lined up, then we take our clamps and clamp this down to the table. And then we'll take the unit itself that we just welded and clamp it to this. But before we clamp anything down, we need the grinder first to grind the surface here to make it suitable to weld to. Up, and they are good. Then you clamp the 2 together. Making sure we have the same amount of overhang on both sides. And then using the square, making sure the bottom is squared up. Then we clamp it down and we're ready to weld. Again, I'll just be tack welding. We'll have a professional welder do the rest. We want to make sure that we've got everything lined up correctly, which means we have the hole for the hitch pin going left to right, not up and down when we're welding it together. We want to make sure that the top end, so this is what goes behind the bumper, we have this here, and these plates that were cut out of here, so the plate that was cut out of there will go here to reinforce this angle. We're not wasting any material. And again, same here. So that will go there to reinforce that angle. So this will keep this from going left to right. The rest is strong enough. And most people behind a bus, all they're towing is a car flat to the ground. So there's not a lot of pressure on this. Greyhound with the D-Series coaches used to carry very heavy trailers behind them. And this was the style of hitch that they used. So now we're ready to weld. Now we have it all tack welded together. It's ready to bring to the welders. Now, if you don't have the capacity of tack welding it together, you can cut all the pieces yourself. This is 9 inches and it's a 2.5 inch square tube, 1/4 inch wall designed for hitches. So it's available locally probably. 1/2 inch steel plate. The plates are 7 inches wide, 12 inches long. This is 9 inches long, as I said, and there's a 5/8 hole centered 2.5 inches from the end, and that's for the hitch pin. These are the cutoffs from here that are 5 inches and 3 3/4 inches in the other dimension. The tubes are 24 5/8 long, and that will give you what you need to make a hitch for a D series coach from MCI. Now, other MCI coaches have very similar types of hitch arrangements. They have similar bumper arrangements. You just need to measure yours in terms of width and the size of the plates, but the rest should remain basically the same. And the easy way to do that is to remove your bumper. When you remove your bumper, there's actually a plate that holds the back doors closed. When you remove that plate, it has all the spacing that you need for the holes, and everything is already there. So it's very easy to copy that plate, making something that looks like this. Before you go to the welders though, there's a few things you need to do. You need to make sure that all the joints are ready to be welded. That's going to save the welder time and save you money. And by being ready to be welded, grinding like I've done, and where I've done the tack welds, I use a stainless steel brush to remove the slag from the area. So it removes all the excess and makes it ready for the welder to do his job. And at the same time, you can inspect your tack welds to make sure they actually are holding the two pieces of metal together. And if they are, you're good to go. We're going to be bringing this to welder. The welder is going to be doing a few other additional items. One of them is, of course, welding it all together. Secondly, we'll be adding a collar around the edge of this. And that's to strengthen this portion here. So when you're putting the hitch tube in and out, it just keeps it from spreading this apart eventually. The last thing they'll be doing is adding the loop here for the safety chains. It's material I don't have to buy. They have them already pre-bent up because they do a lot of work with hitches at the shop that I'm going to. So that piece is already done, but I've ground a spot here for them to be able to attach it easily without them having to bring out their grinders. The hitches are back from the welders, and Sylvia is just cleaning them up, making sure all the edges are not sharp before putting paint on them. Next step, it's on, it fits. Now we just have to bolt it up. Here's the finished job. So that's all we see of the hitch from behind the bus.